Hello and welcome to the channel. This is Zelmont and welcome to another episode. This one's kind of unplanned, off the cuff a bit. I ended up busy this week. It's my youngest birthday, so there's been a lot of preparation towards that. And yeah, so let's get into it. This week I kind of want to talk about best friends. Kind of going to go through the history of my best friends and the different roles they played. And yeah, let's really start with my the first best friend that I remember. He was a bully, but these days, like even while we were still kids, just a couple of years later, people actually wouldn't believe the story because my friend had changed so much from that point. But when I first met him, he was a bully. He tried bullying me at the bus stop, and I wasn't having it, and I was taught that, you know, when you're faced with the bully, with the physical bully, you know, you punch him in the nose, go straight for the nose, and that's literally what I did. And he's somebody who he gets bloody noses really easy. You tap his nose and it's bloody. So like that was that took him out right now. Boom. Well, anyways, shortly after I first met him, and there was a couple times at the bus stop that we had this kind of scenario unfold where he tried bullying me, pop, and he has a bloody nose, and it's over. But he ends up, you know, feigning friendship. And we are little kids at this point, so you're quick to accept friends, right? You're quick to accept apologies and be friends. You tend not to hold grudges too long. Although, the mind of a child and the way time works is entirely different from an adult, right? Holding a grudge for a day, you held a grudge for an eternity, right? So, perspective, right? But anyways, yeah, you know, so he feigns friendship, comes over to play one day, over to my house to play one day, because we lived in the same trailer park. And we end up playing cops and robbers. And oh, I didn't start my timer. But that's alright. I'm going to go for extra time this week. Anyways. Yeah, I actually I found some settings and increased my memory. So I should be able to do up to an hour videos now in this format. Where it's still a one shoot. I can kind of like edit cut a little bit from the beginning and cut from the end. But it's still a one piece. But yeah, I can do up to an hour now. So, you know, I'm still going to kind of aim for that half hour because I don't know. There's some people that do the long stuff, but I think the people that are going to watch my stuff are going to look more, at least initially, for kind of short bits, right? We'll see. I don't know. We'll see as where I get engagement. Right now I'm purely experimenting, right? I don't know what I don't know. So I'm playing around to find out what I don't know. But yeah, anyways, my first best friend, he come over feigning friendship and pretending, and we played cops and robbers. And I can't even remember how it happened, but we ended up kind of like intertwined, all our limbs tied up in each other, kind of in a ball. Only he still had one hand free, and out of nowhere he started feeding me shots. And so like I get mad and start wiggle my way out, and then start wailing back at him. By the end of it, we were both like straight up like bloody and bruised up, like eyes swollen, everything, right? But ever since then, me and him became very close friends, and he gave up the bullying pretty well immediately after that. And like I say, like people even a year after that, to hear that he was a bully, they would not believe it. But yeah, he started off a bully, but I dealt with him the way you deal with a bully. And and this is a good tangent to go off of from this first best friend. And that, yeah, like, there's two kinds of bullies in the world. There's your physical bully, and there's your verbal bully. Now, your verbal bully there is another name for it, and it's the one that's mostly prevalent in online, and that's your troll. Your verbal, there's one way to deal with them. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Words only have the power that you give them, and a troll, they're just using words to get a rise out of you. No matter what reaction they get out of you, they're engaged. It's all about getting the rise out of you. So, like, just don't feed the troll for that kind. For the physical bully, you got to stand up to the bully, and it's that simple. Stand up to the bully. Stand up to the bully, and you hit them as hard as you can, but that said, that doesn't mean don't be prepared to take your lumps. But the thing about it is even if you do take a beating that time, the bully is still going to leave you alone, because even though he can still beat you up, it's not worth it to him if it means he is going to still have to take a shot. You know, that's the smallest guy can still hurt the biggest guy. Okay, like, no, he's not going to beat up the biggest guy, but you can. But if he gets that one shot will still hurt if he just puts everything into it and goes for a sensitive spot. And sometimes, you know, if you are the truly weak, you know what? I was raised on the wrong side of the tracks, where, yeah, you fight dirty if you do whatever you have to do when you fight, you do whatever you have to do to fight. Now, I don't know, I myself have never, like, well, I respect that, like, so, like, I don't personally frown on people who are weaker that use dirty fighting techniques. You know, I really don't like it. I recognize it as a, look, you got to do what you got to do. When you're, you know, most people aren't out looking for a fight, so when you end up in a fight, you got to do what you got to do, man. Any fight you get into, you should be looking at as life or death. And like I say, like, it's you shouldn't be getting into it until it's that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you shouldn't be scrapping over the drop of a hat. The moment you drop fists, man, you should be prepared to one of you doesn't walk away, because you never know what happens. A person falls and bangs their head the wrong way, and they ain't walking away. Okay, like, just tripping and falling, and you might not walk away. So the moment you drop fists, man, you better be prepared for it. Because I will tell you, like, that stuff does happen. You might not think it does, but it definitely does. After him, and he was my best friend for a long time, and, but mind you, from him, there was a big group of us that were all in the trailer park, and I look back on it, and in a lot of ways, we were just kids, but in a lot of, like, oh, we were hellions. I don't, like, there's this one yard, and because I actually still live in the same neighborhood, and I see some things a little differently now that I'm an adult, but there's this one property, this one trailer, and the owner, all those trailer park kids used to just cross through all the time. It was a way to get from point A to point B and not have to walk all the way down a lane, right? But when the owner sold, the new people that came in decided they don't want people walking through their yard all the time. They don't want this permanent trail through the middle of their yard. And so they tried putting up fence. But us kids were so entitled. Like, this is our trailer park. And I really like I myself was part of that. I literally, that was the way I viewed it. It was, this is my neighborhood, this is my walking path. Like, you can see there's a walking path here. How dare you even try and stop us? Like, you can see this. Like, you're more than welcome into the neighborhood. I'm not saying you have to leave, but like, we were here first. Like, respect us. But the reality is, well, they're the ones paying for that property. I'm a kid. Who the hell am I to say? But yeah, no, we literally would not let these poor people put a fence up. The first fence they put up, we literally pushed down. Then they tried putting up another fence. We pushed boards down through it so that we could just walk through it. Then he tried putting up a chain link fence. We literally pushed it down. Like, these poor people, man. And like, they're literally investing this money into it. Oh, but you know, you live and learn, right? Like, I recognize the error of my ways there, and why property rights matter, and why that was so wrong of me, and so wrong-headed of me, right? Like, live and learn. But yeah, then there's the next best friend I had. The next best friend I had was the first black kid I ever met. And yeah, I instantly became friends with him. Like, I don't even remember what I said, or I remember just being intrigued because, like, you know, like, this is this person. Like, I've never, at that point in time, the neighborhood, the town that I lived in, and it wasn't that there wasn't minorities around, but like, I had never met a minority child outside of Native or First Nations. That group. I don't want to say anything. I'm not meaning to say anything offensive, right? Mostly Cree was the main one from First Nations that I grew. But you know, either way. But yeah, your First Nations. There was lots of them. I had lots of First Nation friends. But he was the first black kid that I ever met, and I was so intrigued by the way he looked. Like, I ain't gonna lie about it. Like, I'm a kid. Like, and that's, you know, that's something about race that I wish that we could be honest about. You know, like, it's not racist for me to have recognized as an innocent child, that there was this obvious difference and be intrigued by it. What's racist is to treat him badly because of it, right? And I didn't. I was intrigued, but yeah. At any rate, like, I became quick friends with him. He was really interested in avionics. I think that's pronounced right. But flight. And I've always been a nerd kid, and at that point in time, I was majorly an artist as well. So me and him would sit and. We'd come up with these spaceship designs, and they were all your Star Trek style spaceship designs. They're designed in a zero-G environment. Like, they're not intended to blast off of a surface through an atmosphere. They're already in space, just going between planets. Because with those ships, though, those ships are funner. You can do more with it, right? Because, you know, even though we were kids, we were trying to make stuff that, and I was being I was an artist and trying to be artistic about it, make it look cool, right? We were also trying to make it functional, right? Like, we're actually being like, and he was like big into it. Like, he was huge into, he wanted to go and join the Air Force and then become an astronaut was his big dream. He ended up veering and going Army, and yeah, he's seen some things. I can only imagine what he's seen. Me, I never left my hometown. Not really, not. I mean, don't get me wrong. I traveled to Newfoundland. I've traveled to California. I've traveled to BC, Saskatchewan. But even there, like, I haven't even traveled too much, but yeah, I traveled a little bit, but I've never really left my hometown. I read, I watch, I do try and get myself informed, but I am most definitely in my bubble, and I understand that I'm in my bubble, though, right? That's kind of the big thing, I think. I think it's so fine to be in a bubble so long as you know you're in a bubble. The issue becomes when you don't recognize you're in that bubble, right? When you don't recognize that you have this kind of echo chamber around you. But anyway, yeah, that black friend. There was another guy that I became friends with too at the same time. It ended up being well, not right at the same time. I guess it was like a year or two later. But he ended up kind of like becoming friends with both of us at the end, and it was the three of us until basically junior high. And at junior high, my life radically changed. At that point, I met my teenage best friend and his brother, who was my younger brother's best friend, like teenage best friend, and would later on become my adult best friend. And that it really, like, everything changed. That because this best friend, he was more worldly than I was used to. While I had grown up on the wrong side of the tracks, so to speak, it was more redneck style wrong side of the tracks. This best friend, when he moved into the trailer park, when he moved into the trailer park, he was under house arrest. For Grand Theft Auto over 5,000. For my whole teenage years, I became his shadow, and that's where I was really, really the wrong side, and it became more gangster style. Well, low key, wigga. You want to know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, we were teenage white boys that were infatuated with urban black gang lifestyle, right? So, but we still like as much as much of a joke as that kind of all sounds, it still has it still had all of the same trappings. Like, all of the stories that you would hear from somebody living, I still have all them same stories. I could tell you about how I have met HA, and I've been told to go take a walk, and guess what? I went and took a walk. Like, it's when that kind of experience, that was what taught me to the whole, I am curious, I am nosy to an extent, but when I go and ask somebody, hey, what's up, when I get told, hey, it's none of your business, walk away, I go, okay, and walk away. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. But yeah, that changed a lot. It changed a lot. Don't get me wrong, especially at that point in time, I had given up art for the most part. I was still dabbling a little bit, but I had hit my great artist block there, where I could not sit down and complete a piece. Like I couldn't do it. So it became my main focus became cannabis, video games, and my best friend, and like literally like that was it. Well, actually, no, I guess that's not true. I was also huge into the occult at that time. Like anything paranormal, I was all over it. I had read all of the literature on, well, all of the mainstream literature and whatnot for all of the major topics. I'd gone pretty deep into a lot of your witchcraft and that sort of stuff. I went pretty deep. I got scared out, though, if I'm honest. It's, there's the proverb of, the way I described it was, there's the proverb of, when you stare into the abyss stares back. And I had a sense of that. It was like the most pure malevolence was peering directly into my soul. Like it was a truly terrifying experience. I don't know if it was real. Because that is one of those things, like, I actually do recognize a lot of the science, but like I say, I did look into the literature, and one of the things that did actually turn me off about the occult in general, like, even at the time when I still strongly believed in everything, the big thing that turned me off was that there was a ton of charlatans. It was one of those, and like I say, like, a lot of it, even today, like, I still believe that there is something to it, to most of it, but at least 90% is full charlatan bullshit fake. And even of the stuff that's kind of semi, that 10%, a lot of where it's not full on charlatan, it's still fake in that the mind has funny tricks to it. So while these people genuinely believe that they've seen or experienced something, they actually haven't. It's just their own brains playing tricks on them because they're so desperate to see it. You know what I mean? When you want to find ghosts, you're going to find ghosts whether there's ghosts there or not. And I've seen a lot of that. But the thing that really scared me off was, like I say, I had an experience where a pure malevolence, felt like it was pure indirectly, and it terrified me. And I turned my back, never looked back. And I haven't had any problems ever since. And yeah. And it kind of reinforces the idea too that, like, none of this, that most of this wasn't real even for me. Most of the stuff that I thought I experienced, it wasn't real. It was my brain dealing with various hormones and narcotics and alcohol, right? Like, you take strange substances in the woods and wonder why you see strange things, right? Like, no, I don't think there's much to most of that. But yeah, I was big into the occult too. Like, I was one of the people that a person would come to talk to if they had an experience. There was another chick that I knew around that actually lives in the same neighborhood, in the same trailer park as me, actually. Well, actually, I don't know if she still does. I think she does. But I don't know. I don't go peering into her trailer, right? So I don't know if she still lives there, right? I'm not that nosy. She's far enough down the road that I would need to go and really check, right? We've had friends in common, me and her ourselves have never ever been friends. The closest we ever came to friends was I was once part of a group that used to bully her before she became goth and into occult stuff, and like literally, like, I'm not proud of it, and I fully admit and apologize if I were to ever me, if I ever were to sit down, I would. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I... what there was a name that we called it, because there was a group of girls that would walk around the neighborhood, and us boys would, and it was a thing of boys doing against girls, right? Like but it was still bullying, right? And it was still wrong. But I mean, you know, that's where I don't know. My stance on bullying, that's a whole other topic. Wow, we still haven't even got to my best friend. And there's a lot in that. We're just about done our time already. Still haven't even got through my teenage years with my best friend, with my teenage best friend. My best friend's older brother. Yeah, I was his shadow. And he was a badass, man. And he was a big guy. And I was a stocky guy. You know what I mean? Like, I was kind of shorter, but I was a solid guy myself. And I was his shadow, and I went everywhere and experienced everything that he went through, and it made my teenage years easy, because I could just follow him. Like, that he was my life. Until he moved away and got into an accident, he was my life. I just followed him around. Whatever he was doing, whatever his goal was my goal. Well, I don't know. I still had my own goals. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't a one-way street, but he was the dominant one. I was fine not, because I'm one of those. I'm not necessarily a follower, but I'm a reluctant leader. You know what I mean? Like, I have leadership skills. I have leadership qualities. And for the last 5 years, most of the job places that I work, I definitely end up taking a lead. Like, I'm not even trying to. I'm fine letting someone else take lead, but I'm good at it, right? Like, I can do it. That's one of those, yeah, like, I'll have a mind of my own, but yeah, no, I was fine just following him. Life was interesting, man, and like, and there was a code there, right? And there's times where I long for that code, but at the same time, there was so much drama, man. So much drama. Always drama. Always, always, always. There's that timer. So I think, yeah, we'll save my actual final best friend and the story about him for another episode. Because him himself, like, given that I could do this much just on the best friends leading up to him, because just the story about his death, there's lots of little things and lots of tangents that I can go off of. Like, there really is. It's so surreal for me to think about it, man. Because I was other than the person who killed my best friend, I was the last friend that they seen before it happened. And then, like, when the family hadn't heard from him the next day, I was the one that the family contacted, and like, I remember going and looking for him, and you know what? Screw it. Let's set this timer, and we'll just keep on going. We'll tell this story. My best friend was what a best friend should be. A best friend, especially as an adult, like, it is an adult best friend. What your adult best friend should be, your adult best friend is that one person in the world that you can literally tell anything to with no judgment. they'll tell you what they think. They'll give you their ideas and whatnot on it, but they're not going to judge you for thinking and feeling however you do. You know, you can literally speak to them freely, but most importantly, they're the one person in the world that can come and kidnap you at any time. I tell you, that's the thing that I miss most about my best friend. And there will never be anyone else, I don't think. Like, I'm not the kind of person that makes friends like that. And yeah, I don't see it happening ever again. I don't see myself ever having another person who can just show up out of the blue and be like, come on, we're going. No, you haven't been out in like 3 weeks. We're going. I didn't ask you if you had money. Come on, we're going. You know, like... He was he could be such an asshole, but he would pull me out of my shell, man. And I like my shell. It's one fault of me is I like my shell. I like to stay in my shell. I'm a turtle. Turtle. But that guy, he'd come and show me a good time. But yeah, it was, he unfortunately, he lost his child to, well, they call it SIDS for short, acronym, but sudden infant death syndrome, which is basically a fancy name for saying, we're sorry, we have no idea why your baby just died. Literally, his child was turning 3 months. Like, literally the morning of 3 months. They woke up to their son gone. There's something about a tiny coffin. You'll never get over a tiny coffin. No matter how many years go, no matter what age you are when you see it. Tiny coffin is something that this world really shouldn't have. But it does. Too many. When my best friend's son died, that was when my best friend died. He continued on for a bit more. But that really was the thing that killed my best friend, that led to his passing. Because from there, he started having drug addiction issues. We were all always potheads, and there was always some dabbling of hard drugs around. Generally speaking, we tended to look down on anyone who got addicted to anything hard. It was, fine to be a pothead, but you don't want to get addicted to the hard stuff. That's what makes you go crazy. But no, when his son passed, first my understanding was first it was coke, and then it was meth. But yeah, first it was coke. Him and his old lady, they went down. They pulled each other down, trying to pull each other up. Right? Like, it's one of those, right? Like, toxic relationship. And they did. They ended up separating for that reason. They both did get cleaned up from that, from the coke. She ended up doing better for herself. She got with another guy, and they have a kid. They're they're living. My understanding is it's life. It has its ups and downs. Not everybody's as lucky as me. Not everybody, and that's kind of why I want to do these episodes. Is that my life isn't perfect. I don't come from privilege at all. I don't. But I'm happy. Like here I am. My best friend was murdered over a drug-fueled attack, a drug-fueled rage. And while I am saddened from the loss and whatnot, I am still genuinely happy. Like I'm not depressed. I'm not, sure, while I'm talking about certain things will hit me, and but even there, it's bittersweet. I actually do like to think about my best friend, even though there's certain aspects about it that it hits, and I can't help but have tears come to my eyes, but it's bittersweet, right? Like there is still I'll smile too. Like even though there's a tear in my eye, there's a smile on my face as well.
Hello there.
And yeah, anyways, they ended up making up, and like she's doing fine. She's doing all right. She's living. But he ended up getting back, falling into the addiction again. This time it was with meth. At this point in time, I was in the middle of a custody battle, and because he was on drugs, on hard drugs, and he knew I was in the, and I can't afford anything, right? Like, he purposely stayed away from me to not bring heat on me. I was wondering, like, even though he was on drugs, like, he himself still kept it together, right? Like, he was still working, he was still, though, I gotta be honest, there was one time that he come and freaked me out, man. He was come all paranoid about his roommates. Scared me. I was really worried about it. I talked to his family about him at that point, because I was worried. I talked to his sister, because like I say, his brother was my best friend as a teenager, and then he was my like, I'm literally considered family. As they are, which I don't know, comes with its ups and downs, as most families do. And I'll leave it at that. But yeah, I remember he wasn't, like I say, he wasn't coming around, because I was in the middle of a custody battle for my eldest, and I couldn't afford anything of that nature, right? Like especially at that point in time, like me and my ex get along now, but at that point in time when the separation was still fresh, she was playing dirty, man. She might have been doing it for the right reasons. I don't know. I won't say nay or yay about it, because I don't know. But I do know she was playing dirty at that point in time, and yeah, no, I couldn't afford something like that. So he did. He stayed away, and he did it voluntarily, right? Like, it's not like I asked him to stay away. In fact, I asked him to come around more often. But he stayed away because he didn't want to bring heat on me, and he was heavy into meth. But 2 weeks before his death, I remember having a conversation with him. I'm like, because the guy who ended up killing him, where I worked, his girlfriend worked with me, and she just broke up with him because he was going off the deep end. Like, he was too heavily, he was too addicted, he was starting to do the paranoia, and So I went to my buddy. I'm like, look, like, I know you're friends with him, but like his old lady just left him because like he's going off the deep end. Like, you should watch yourself around this guy. And he goes, oh no, no, no. We're both quitting. We're both quitting together. We're working it out. So I'm like, okay, whatever, no problem. Like, that's what you say, dude. Like, I trust you, man. Then 2 weeks later, and it was literally 2 weeks, like to the day. It literally landed on 2 weeks. Like, I'm not even being hyperbolic or over exaggerating or however you want to put it. Like, it was literally 2 weeks to the day later. They I get a text from him, you know, hey, you wanna meet me outside your apartment? Need a light. So I go and meet him outside, give him a light, because I was still a smoker then, and so, you know, I went out, had a smoke with them, you know, just say hi. They were on their way down to Moose Country to get a coffee. Get coffee and smokes. That was it. That was what it was. Okay. They didn't have a lighter, but they, you know, they wanted to smoke, so give them light, and then they went on their way. Well, my best friend, he always used to carry a knife on him for self-defense purposes. And he was also the type to honestly be quick to flash stuff of that nature. As it was as a tactic to try and still conflict before it happened, kind of deal, right? It's an intimidation tactic. But I don't know what the fight was about. I don't know. I have no idea. Only the guy who killed him knows what the hell they fought about. But they got into a fight after they got to Moose Country and got their coffee and smokes. They just left, and at that point in time there was a path that went in behind Moose Country, and they were on that path, and they got into a fight. And I can fully see, and my buddy whipping that knife out, being all like, hey man, calm down. And then apparently, like, at some point, and you know, like, as long as you gotta give benefit of the doubt. I hate that the fucker, and I'm part of my language, but this is, you know, I gotta be real on this. Like, I'm talking about something real here, so part of my language. But, you know, I hate that he took my best friend, that that it went that far. But I understand that it was drug fueled, and it was. Like, they were both out of it, man, and I seen them. I literally seen them right by, and you know, and I'm not inexperienced around that kind of thing. Like, they were both sketchy. And yeah, I guess he ended up taking the knife from Dale, and that was it. And then kept going. That's how you know it was drug fueled, and it was like a rage, right? It was paranoia and everything, just so, like, I hate that the guy did it, and I understand that the family can never forgive it. And then they're the type, they won't ever forgive him, and I understand it perfectly well. I understand that they won't forgive it, and I understand, man. But I am that understanding too, and I understand that the other guy, he didn't mean to do it. He was messed up. You know? I still think he should have faced more justice than what he did. To be completely fair, like, whether it's drug fueled or not, like especially when it's drug fueled, like I'm of the opinion that drugs should be legal across the board, but but all of the actual negative crime that's associated with it should be harsher. You know what I mean? Like you allow the drug use, but you don't allow the drug use as an excuse for the crime, because you understand that you using will inebriate you, that it will impair your judgment, that it can lead to an addiction, that you're still responsible for that. So like, while I'm understanding and therefore, in the long run, I am a person who is able to forgive him, that's not to say that I don't think he should still serve penance, and that I don't think that the system failed to hold him to account for what he actually did. And why? Because my best friend was on drugs. And that's really why. He was a drug addict at that point in time, and he was. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't a bad one though. Like, he wasn't stealing, he wasn't causing crime. He outside of the buying and use of illicit legal drugs in and of itself, right? But he worked. He was able to afford it, you know. And that was one of the things, like we wanted to get character testimonies, because it's like, he was actually an amazing guy. I remember always being nervous about introducing him, because he was one of those people who, you catch him the wrong way and he can be a total asshole, much like me, really. Go ask people about me. There's very mixed feelings about me. That's alright. I think it's funny. I don't know. I take enjoyment wherever I can. I find humor in it, right? Great joke, great comedy that is life. I love it. I love it. I love all of it. Anyways, that's it's kind of, I don't know, I think that's the story there. Now, the problem with losing my best friend like that, though, the problem with it is that now I'm chasing a ghost, right? That's why I say I don't think I'll ever have another best friend. I might. I am actually open to it. But the problem is that it's a situation of, now I'm chasing a ghost. Like, no matter who tries to step up to be my best friend, they're never going to be as good as he was, you know? I'm always going to compare them to him, and the way memory works, and that's why chasing a ghost is such a bad thing, you're never going to, because the memory of him is the ideal, right? You can never live up to the ideal. That's why Jesus had to die when he died. If Jesus had lived any longer, he wouldn't have been the ideal. Just as a random tangent to throw in there that I have no idea about. No, that's not true. I was an angry atheist, and I am somebody that thinks that you should know what you hate. So when and as a teenager, I really did. I had a hate on for Catholicism, so like I really looked into it. I don't have a hate on for it anymore. It's not. I am atheist, true and true. You'll never convert me, but I don't have a hate out for other religion anymore. I'm a full-on believer of freedom of religion. But anyways, thanks for joining me, and I just realized that in this cut here, I never did say that, if you're enjoying the content, please do not forget to like, share, subscribe for more content. And come on, I really am looking for engagement, people. Please leave a comment. And remember, compassion, understanding, benefit of the doubt. Have a good night. Bye.
Hey, you!